The screen is black. No music. No movement. Just silence. And then, a voice. Slow. Calm. Certain. Before this video ends, something inside you will change. Not because I want it to. Not because you expect it to. But because you are finally ready to hear what you've been avoiding your entire life. Pause. You didn't click this by accident. A faint heartbeat sound begins. Soft. Distant. Real. Think about it. How many times have you scrolled past something important? How many times did you feel a pull, and ignored it? A breath. But not this time. The screen fades into a dim light. Not bright. Not dark. Just enough to see, but not enough to understand. There is a message, one message, that has been waiting for you. It doesn't belong to religion. It doesn't belong to motivation. It doesn't belong to any system you've been taught. The voice lowers. It belongs to truth. Silence again. You've been living your life like you're running out of time. Chasing things you were told would make you happy, money, validation, attention, approval. A subtle shift in tone. And yet, when the noise stops, when you're alone, when no one is watching. Pause. Why does it still feel empty? The heartbeat grows slightly louder. Let me tell you something no one has ever told you this clearly. You are not lost. A longer pause. You are distracted. The words hang in the air. Every day, your mind is pulled in 1,000 directions. Notifications. Opinions. Expectations. Fear. Comparison. Doubt. The voice becomes sharper. They built a world where your attention is currency, and you've been spending it on things that give you nothing in return. A quiet echo follows the last word. Nothing. The tone softens again. But deep down, you know that, don't you? You've felt it, that strange feeling, like something is missing, like you're meant for something more, but you can't quite reach it. The screen flickers slightly. That feeling is not confusion. It's awareness. A slow inhale. And awareness is dangerous. The heartbeat syncs with the words. Because once you see the truth, you can't unsee it. A faint whisper effect layers under the voice. They don't want you to realize this. They don't want you to slow down. They don't want you to question anything. The tone turns intense. Because the moment you stop, the moment you look within, the moment you ask the right questions. Pause. You break the system. Silence. Complete silence. Then. Let me ask you something. The voice becomes personal now. Direct. When was the last time you sat alone, without your phone, without distractions, without noise, and just listened? No background sound. No heartbeat. Nothing. Exactly. A subtle sound returns. Low frequency. Almost like a distant storm. You've been trained to escape silence, because silence reveals everything you've been avoiding. The words slow down. Your fears. Pause. Your regrets. Pause. Your truth. A deep breath. But today, something is different. You didn't just click a video. You stepped into a moment. The tone grows stronger. A moment where everything you thought you knew is about to be questioned. A faint rise in background sound. You've been told that success looks a certain way. That happiness comes after achievement. That you need to become someone else to finally feel enough. The voice cuts sharply. That's the lie. Silence. Listen carefully now, because this is where everything begins to change. The sound fades into a calm hum. You are already enough. A pause, longer than before. And I know, part of you wants to reject that. Because if you accept it, everything you've been chasing, everything you've been stressing about, everything you've been comparing yourself to, it all loses its power. The voice softens again. But that's exactly why this truth is so hard to accept. A slight echo. You've built your identity around struggle. Around proving yourself. Around trying to become something. The tone becomes almost compassionate. But what if you were never meant to become? What if you were meant to remember? A deep silence. The kind that makes you lean in. Remember who you were, before the world told you who to be. A subtle emotional shift in the background music. When you were a child, you didn't question your worth. You didn't compare your journey. You didn't overthink every decision. You just existed. The voice slows. Free. A pause. Powerful. Another pause. Unfiltered. The heartbeat returns, but softer now. And then, slowly, the world started adding layers. Labels. Expectations. Judgments. Fear. The tone grows heavier. And without even realizing it, you started losing yourself. A faint distortion sound. Not all at once. But piece by piece. A pause. Until one day, you woke up, and didn't recognize who you had become. Silence. But here's the part no one tells you. The voice sharpens again. You can take it all back. A slight rise in intensity. Every belief that limits you. Every fear that controls you. Every voice that tells you you're not enough. The words hit harder now. None of it is real. A pause. It was learned. And what is learned, can be unlearned. The background hum grows stronger. You don't need permission. You don't need validation. You don't need approval. The voice becomes firm. You need awareness. A beat. And once you have it, you become unstoppable. Silence. Then a whisper. But awareness comes with a cost. A pause. You start seeing things differently. You start noticing patterns. You start questioning everything. The tone becomes almost mysterious. And not everyone will understand you anymore. A slight echo. Some will call you different. Some will call you lost. Some will even try to pull you back. The voice tightens. But that's how you know you're on the right path. A deep breath. Because growth is uncomfortable. Change is uncomfortable. Truth is uncomfortable. The music softens again. But staying the same. Pause. That's the real danger. A long silence. Then. This message, this moment. The voice becomes calm, almost reassuring. It's not here to scare you. It's here to wake you up. A soft exhale. You've been asleep, not physically, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually. A pause. And now. The heartbeat aligns with the words again. You're starting to wake up. Silence. Slowly. Another pause. But surely. The screen fades darker. The voice lowers. And in the next part. A pause that builds curiosity. I'm going to show you something that most people go their entire lives without realizing. A whisper. The one truth. That changes everything. Black screen. Silence. The screen fades in slowly. Not bright. Not dark. Just enough to feel something is about to be revealed. The voice returns. Deeper this time. More certain. You're still here. A pause. That already separates you from most people. A faint sound begins, like a low vibration beneath the surface. Because most people, the moment things start getting real, the moment something challenges their beliefs, they leave. Silence. But you didn't. A breath. And that means, you're ready for what comes next. The tone sharpens slightly. In the last part, you started to remember something. Not fully, not clearly, but enough to feel it. A pause. That emptiness you've been carrying. It's not a weakness. It's a signal. The sound deepens. A signal that something in your life is out of alignment. The voice becomes more intense. And here's the truth that most people will never understand. Pause. You don't feel lost because you don't know what to do. A beat. You feel lost because you've been doing what doesn't belong to you. Silence. Let that sink in. All the expectations. All the goals. All the things you thought you wanted. The tone drops. How many of them were actually yours? A pause. And how many were given to you, by the world, by society, by people who never truly understood you? The background sound pulses slowly. This is where everything starts to break. Because once you ask that question, you can't go back to pretending. A whisper. You can't go back to living someone else's life. The voice grows stronger. You've been chasing a version of success that was never designed for you. Working harder, pushing more, ignoring your inner voice. And calling it discipline. A sharp pause. But deep down, you knew something was off. The sound fades slightly. Because real alignment doesn't feel like constant struggle. It doesn't feel like forcing yourself every single day. It doesn't feel like losing yourself, just to gain something outside. A breath. Real alignment feels different. It feels calm, even when things are uncertain. It feels right, even when it's hard. It feels like you're moving forward, without betraying yourself. A pause. And if you've never felt that, that's not your fault. The voice softens. You were never taught how to listen to yourself. You were taught how to follow. Another pause. Follow instructions. Follow trends. Follow what works for others. The tone tightens. But no one told you that your path was never supposed to look like theirs. Silence. A deep silence. You are not behind. The words land heavy. You are not late. Another pause. You are not missing out. The background hum rises slightly. You are simply out of alignment. A beat. And once you fix that, everything changes. The voice lowers again. But here's the part that most people are too afraid to face. A pause that stretches. Fixing your alignment means letting go. The sound drops almost completely. Letting go of what's familiar. Letting go of what feels safe. Letting go of the version of you that the world has accepted. A whisper. And that's terrifying. A breath. Because even if your current life feels wrong, at least it's predictable. At least it's known. The tone sharpens. But growth doesn't happen in what's known. It happens in what you're avoiding. A pause. So let me ask you something. The voice becomes direct again. What are you avoiding right now? Silence. No music. No sound. Just the question. Is it a decision you've been postponing? A truth you don't want to admit? A path you're too afraid to take? The heartbeat returns, slow and steady. Because that thing. That exact thing. It's the doorway. A pause. The doorway to the life you keep thinking about, but never fully step into. The tone grows stronger. And the longer you avoid it, the louder that feeling inside you becomes. Until one day, it turns into regret. Silence. Heavy. Uncomfortable. Regret. The voice softens. Is not about what you failed at. It's about what you never allowed yourself to try. A pause. And you already know this. The sound builds again. You felt it in those quiet moments. When you wonder, what if? What if I had taken that chance? What if I had trusted myself? What if I had just started? The voice tightens. But instead, You waited. For the right time. For more confidence. For more certainty. A sharp pause. And that moment never came. Silence. But here's the truth. The voice becomes firm. There is no perfect moment. There is no perfect version of you. There is no moment where fear disappears completely. A breath. You move forward, with fear. You act, with uncertainty. You begin, before you feel ready. The heartbeat aligns with each phrase. Because waiting. Pause. Is the illusion. A low echo. It feels safe. But it slowly steals your life. The tone drops deeper. One day turns into a week. A week turns into a year. And suddenly, you're still in the same place. With the same thoughts. With the same doubts. With the same unfulfilled potential. A long pause. And that is the real trap. The sound fades again. But right now, you have a choice. The voice becomes calm. You can keep watching. Keep agreeing. Keep feeling this temporary motivation. A slight shift. Or a pause that builds tension. You can decide. Silence. Decide that something changes after this. Decide that you stop ignoring yourself. Decide that you stop waiting. The tone strengthens. Because this message, it's not here to entertain you. It's here to confront you. A beat. To remind you that your life is happening right now. Not later. Not someday. Now. The heartbeat grows louder for a moment. And every second you hesitate, that's a second you don't get back. Silence. Then. But don't misunderstand this. The voice softens again. This is not about rushing. It's not about forcing yourself into something. It's about clarity. A pause. Clarity about who you are. Clarity about what matters. Clarity about what you're no longer willing to tolerate. The tone becomes steady. And once you have that clarity, action becomes natural. Decisions become easier. Doubt starts to fade. A breath. Because you're no longer moving blindly. You're moving with awareness. The sound shifts into something calmer. And in the next part, a pause. I'm going to show you the one thing that has been controlling your decisions, your fears, your entire life. A whisper. And once you see it, you will never look at yourself the same way again. Black screen. Silence. The screen doesn't fade in this time. It cuts in. Abrupt. Uncomfortable. Like something just shifted. The voice comes back, quieter, but heavier. Now we go deeper. A pause. No more surface-level truth. No more comfort. Another pause. Because what you're about to hear, it's the one thing controlling everything. Silence. A low-frequency hum begins again, but this time, it feels closer. More inside your head than around you. You think your decisions are yours. You think your fears are logical. You think your limits are real. A breath. But they're not. A sharp pause. They are programmed. The word echoes slightly. Programmed, over years, without you even noticing. The tone becomes more intense. Every belief you hold about yourself. Every doubt. Every hesitation. It didn't start with you. Silence. It was planted. The sound tightens. From the moment you were a child. You were told what's possible, and what's not. What's realistic, and what's too big. What you can become, and what you should avoid. A pause. And slowly, you started accepting it. The voice lowers. You stopped questioning. You stopped imagining. You stopped believing, beyond the limits they gave you. A long silence. And the worst part? A whisper. You started calling it reality. The hum deepens. But it's not reality. It's conditioning. The tone sharpens. And conditioning is invisible. A pause. That's why it's so powerful. You don't see it. You don't question it. You just live by it. Silence. Let me show you something. The voice becomes slower, more deliberate. Think about a decision you've been avoiding. Pause. Something you know you want to do. But you keep holding back. A breath. Now ask yourself. Why? Silence. Real silence. What exactly is stopping you? Another pause. Is it lack of ability? No. Is it lack of opportunity? Not really. The tone tightens. It's a thought. A beat. A single thought. That tells you. What if you fail? The hum pulses. And that thought. It feels real. It feels logical. It feels like it's protecting you. A pause. But it's not. The voice becomes firm. It's limiting you. Silence. And here's the truth most people never realize. A slow breath. Fear is not the enemy. A pause. Fear is the indicator. The heartbeat returns, stronger now. It shows you exactly where your growth is. It points directly to the life you've been avoiding. The tone intensifies. But instead of following it, you run. You distract yourself. You convince yourself it's not the right time. A sharp pause. And just like that, you stay the same. Silence. Think about it. The voice softens slightly. Every time you were about to step into something bigger. Something uncomfortable. Something unknown. What happened? A pause. That voice showed up. You're not ready. You might fail. What will people think? The tone drops. And you listened. A long silence. But what if? The voice becomes quieter. What if that voice was never yours? The hum fades for a second. Complete stillness. What if it was just an echo of everything you were taught to fear? A pause. Everything you were told to avoid. Everything that made others feel safe. The tone sharpens again. But not free. Silence. You were not designed to live a small life. The words hit harder. You were not designed to play it safe. You were not designed to stay stuck in cycles that drain you. A pause. You were designed to expand. The heartbeat aligns with each word. To grow. To explore. To become more. A breath. But expansion feels like fear. The voice lowers. And that's where most people get it wrong. They think, if it feels scary, it must be wrong. A pause. But in reality, if it feels scary, it might be exactly right. Silence. And the longer you ignore that, the stronger the resistance becomes. The hum returns, heavier. Until one day, you're no longer afraid of failing. You're afraid of trying. A deep pause. And that is where people lose themselves. The tone becomes intense again. Because once you stop trying, you stop growing. Once you stop growing, you start shrinking. And once you start shrinking, you start settling. Each word lands heavier. For less. For comfort. For a life you don't even truly want. Silence. But listen carefully now. The voice softens again. You are not stuck. A pause. You are not broken. Another pause. You are not behind. The tone becomes calm, steady. You are simply operating from a version of yourself that was never meant to be permanent. A breath. And the moment you realize that, everything begins to shift. The sound lightens slightly. Because now, you're no longer controlled by the program. You're aware of it. A pause. And awareness. The voice deepens. Breaks control. Silence. But here's the challenge. A slight tension returns. Awareness alone is not enough. A pause. You have to act differently. The tone sharpens. You have to choose differently. You have to move, even when it feels uncomfortable. A beat. Especially when it feels uncomfortable. The heartbeat grows stronger. Because that discomfort, that resistance, that fear, it's the signal. A pause. That you're stepping outside the program. Silence. And that's where your real life begins. The voice becomes calmer again. Not in comfort. Not in certainty. but in growth. A breath. And the more you lean into that, the more everything changes. Your confidence. Your mindset. Your entire reality. A pause. But there's still one thing. The tone shifts, mysterious again. One final layer. One final truth. That holds everything together. Silence. And in the next part, a slow, deliberate pause. I'm going to reveal it. The voice drops to a whisper. The truth that, once you see it, you don't just change your life. You change who you are. Black screen. No sound.